My watch. When I got back from school yesterday afternoon, the postman had brought a parcel for me. It was a present from Granny. A fantastic present. You'll never guess what it was. A watch! My Granny is really great, and so is my watch, and the rest of the gang will be terribly impressed. Dad wasn't at home because he had a business dinner that evening, but Mum showed me how to wind the watch and she put it on my wrist. Luckily, I'm very good at telling the time, and not like last year when I was little and I'd have had to go round asking people what my watch said all the time, which would have been a bit tricky. The really good thing about my watch was the big hand, which went round much faster than the other two. You can't see them move at all unless you look very hard for a very long time. I asked Mum what the big hand was for, and she said it was very useful for telling you when boiled eggs were done. It was a pity there weren't any boiled eggs when Mum and I sat down to our supper at 7:32 p.m. I kept looking at my watch while I ate, and Mum told me to hurry up or my soup would get cold, so I finished my soup in exactly the time it took the biggest hand to go round twice and a bit. At 7:51 p.m, Mum brought in the end of the yummy pudding left over from lunchtime, and we finished supper at 7:58 p.m. Mum let me play for a bit. I held the watch to my ear to hear it tick, and at 8:15 p.m, Mum told me to go to bed. I felt as happy as I did that time I was given the fountain pen which made blots everywhere. I wanted to keep my watch on when I went to sleep, but Mum told me it wouldn't be good for it, so I put it on my bedside table where I could see it quite easily if I turned over on my side, and Mum put the light out. At 8:38 p.m. Then it was fantastic, because the numbers and the hands of my watch shone in the dark. I wouldn't have needed to put the light on even if I'd wanted to boil some eggs. I didn't feel like going to sleep. I kept looking at my watch all the time, so I heard it when the front door opened. It was Dad coming home. I was very pleased because now I could show him Granny's present. I got up and put on my watch and went out of my bedroom. I saw Dad coming upstairs on tiptoe. "Hey, Dad!" I shouted. "Look at the lovely watch Granny gave me!" Dad was very startled, so startled he nearly fell downstairs. "Shh, Nicholas," he said. "Shh, you'll wake your mother up." And the light went on, and we saw Mum coming out of her bedroom. "His mother is already awake," said Mum to Dad, not looking very pleased, and then she asked if this was any time to get home from a business dinner. "Oh, really?" said Dad. "It's not all that late." "It's exactly 11:58 p.m, I said. I felt very proud of myself because I do like being helpful to Mum and Dad. "Wonderful presents your mother thinks up, I must say," Dad told Mum. "This is a fine time to discuss my mother," said Mum, "especially in front of Nicholas." She didn't look as if she was standing for any nonsense. Then she told me to go back to bed, darling, and have a nice sleep. I went back to my room, and I heard Dad and Mum talking for a bit, and I started my nice sleep at 12:14 a.m. I woke up at 5:07 a.m. It was beginning to get light, which was a pity because the numbers on my watch didn't shine so brightly then. I was in no hurry to get up because there wasn't any school today, but I told myself I might be able to be helpful to Dad again. He's always complaining that his boss is always complaining that he's late at the office. So I waited a bit, and at 5:12 a.m. I went into Mum and Dad's room and I shouted, "It's morning, Dad! You'll be late for the office!" Dad looked very startled, but it wasn't as dangerous as when he was startled on the stairs because he couldn't fall downstairs when he was in bed. All the same, Dad did look funny, as if he had fallen downstairs. Mum woke up too with a jump. "What is it? What's the matter?" she asked. "It's that watch of his," said Dad. "Apparently it's morning." "That's right," I said. "It's 5:15 a.m. Soon it will be 5:16 a.m. "Well done, Nicholas," said Mum. "And now go back to bed. We're awake, all right?" I went back to bed, but I had to go back to Mum and Dad 3 times at 5:47 a.m, 6:18 a.m, and 7:02 a.m. before they finally got up. We were sitting down to breakfast, and Dad called Mum. "Hurry up with the coffee, dear, or I shall be late. I've been waiting 5 minutes now." 8, I said, and Mum came in and she looked at me in a funny sort of way. When she poured out the coffee, she spilt some on the tablecloth because her hand was trembling. Poor Mum, I do hope she isn't ill. I'll be home in good time for lunch, said Dad. Expect to see me clocking in at the door. I asked Mum what clocking in meant, but she told me to take no notice and go and play outside. It's the first time I was ever sorry there was no school, because I wanted to show the gang my watch. The only other person who once came to school with a watch was Geoffrey, who brought his dad's watch, a big fat one with a lid and a chain. Geoffrey's dad's watch was great, but it turned out that Geoffrey wasn't supposed to take it, and there was a lot of trouble, and we never saw that watch again, and Geoffrey told us he got such a thrashing that we jolly nearly never saw him again either. I went off to see Alec, my fat friend, who lives near me and eats a lot. I know Alec gets up early because it takes him so long to have breakfast. "Hi, Alec," I called when I got to his house. "Alec, come and see what I got." Alec came out with a croissant in his hand and another in his mouth. "Look, it's a watch," I told Alec, raising my arm to the level of the end of the croissant which was in his mouth. Alec squinted at it and swallowed and said, "That's not bad." "It goes ever so well, and it has a hand for boiling eggs, and it shines in the dark," I told him. "What's it look like inside?" Alec asked. I hadn't thought of looking inside. "Wait a minute," said Alec, and he went back into his house and came out again with another croissant and a penknife. "Give me your watch," said Alec. "I'll open it up with my knife. I know how. I've already opened my dad's watch." So I gave Alec my watch, and he got to work on it with his penknife. Then I was afraid he might break my watch, and I told him, "Give me my watch back." But Alec didn't want to. He put out his tongue and went on trying to open the watch. So then I tried to get it back from him by force, and the penknife slipped and cut Alec's finger, and Alec yelped, and the watch came open, and it dropped on the ground at 9:10 a.m. It was still 9:10 a.m. when I got home, crying. My watch didn't work anymore. Mum hugged me and told me Dad would fix it. When Dad came home for lunch, Mum gave him my watch. Dad turned the little knob and looked at Mum and looked at the watch and looked at me, and then he said, "Listen, Nicholas, this watch can't be mended. But that doesn't mean you can't have fun with it. Not in the least. You don't have to worry about breaking it now, and it will look just as good as ever on your wrist." And he looked so pleased, and Mum looked so pleased that I was pleased too. So now my watch always says 4 o'clock, which is a nice time, because 4 o'clock is tea time, and we have little chocolate croissants. And the numbers still shine in the dark. Granny's present is fantastic.